Hi. I'm going to start this new series of short videos called Let's Talk WIPs, or Works in Progress. This is going to be a series where I discuss novels that I have in progress in my writing. In this I will discuss the inspiration behind the title, the inspiration behind the story itself, the characters, and a very, very basic plot. And I thought I was going to start with my passion project, Onerous Cimmerian. So let's start with, what do the words onerous and Cimmerian mean? Well, onerous is an adjective that means difficult to do or deal with. In this circumstance, in this book, I chose the word onerous because a lot of the story works around triggers and things that could make people really upset. So it is difficult to read because it's got a lot of heavy topics. The word Cimmerian is an adjective, and it means very dark or gloomy. And with that in mind, I have categorized Onerous Cimmerian as a dark fantasy novel. It's set in a completely different world where things are sort of different to our world, there's shadow manipulation and stuff, so that's very fantastical, but it is dark in that it deals with concepts that could be considered taboo or eerie and challenging to people. So that's where the title Onerous Cimmerian comes from, and I will let you know here that that title was not the name of the story until I was about a quarter of the way through writing it. Now we should talk about the history of how I even started this story. So originally this story was supposed to be a sort of swap alternate universe to the egos presented in Jacksepticeye lore. So it was supposed to be characters who have the traits of other egos. So, for example, Jameson Jackson, the silent, dapper man in Jacksepticeye lore, had the traits and personality of Antisepticeye, the antagonist in Jacksepticeye lore, and vice versa. So that was how it originally started. I wrote a whole bunch of different short pieces that worked as fan fiction and put them on Tumblr, and people liked them. They were really good. And then I went on and I kept writing it. I started this in about 2018, and at that point I was recovering from a really dark place in my own life, and it kind of became like a sort of vent story for me. So I'd have all these dark concepts and dark things because in my mind itself was very dark at that time. And then I came up with the title of Onerous Cimmerian. And there are a lot of other beautiful words, as I call them, that make up the chapter titles. I even wrote a whole backstory saga for these characters and things. And in doing that, I realized these characters had sort of taken on a life of their own. They became my characters, my own characters, and I started writing them more for my own fun. It stopped being a swap universe and just started being normal to me. So I ended up making it my own, and I took it off. Well, I didn't take it off Tumblr. I started writing, but wouldn't post the chapters onto Tumblr because I decided I want to make this a novel. I would be proud to have this published. So yeah, and here we are now with me discussing it as a novel, now that I am about 3/4 through writing it, because I'm kind of struggling to get certain things happening, but that's beside the point. We will work on it, it's okay. Now I will introduce the characters to you. We have 6 main characters, but the essential focus is on 2 primary characters. Each of these characters are related in some way or form. The first character you meet in the story is Anton Cacoethes. Cacoethes is another fancy word. I believe it means... Let me find out what that means. I did not put it on here. Great. It meant something about being comprised of both good and evil, which is very interesting for this little character. This is a crochet mini I made of him. This is a scarf that he wears around his neck, but I've got it on here because I've done some stuff to this scarf that are spoilers, so can't wear it around his neck. But what he is, he's an actor, and at the start of the story, he's just landed his dream role on Broadway playing Quasimodo in Hunchback of Notre Dame. So his signature characteristics are his green hair, and his little green waistcoat, his white button-down, and his black pants and shoes, and usually a scarf, not always wearing the scarf. He has quite the tragic backstory. It takes place over 20 months, in which he may have made a deal with death, and that deal did not go quite the way that he wanted it to go. So because you see him first, you would assume he's your main character. He's your protagonist that you will see all the time. So we start with Anton. Next up, we have Juxtaposition, which is a very creative name I came up with back when I was writing them as a swap universe, because he's a complete juxtaposition of the JJ character in Jacksepticeye lore. Juxtaposition meaning two opposing words put together. So, yeah. He's got midnight blue hair. He did have a mustache at the start of the story, but about halfway through he shaves it. It's a big character development thing, I won't get into it. He wears a grey button-down shirt and black pants and shoes. He has this scar. You will find out how he gets this scar in the book. This scar coming down from the corner of his eye to the corner of his mouth, which pulls his mouth into a permanent smirk. You will find out why that happens in the book. He also has 2 midnight blue lines, but I have no idea how to crochet lines, so no lines for you. He is silent. He also makes a deal with death. I cannot tell you that much about the deal with death because that is kind of the big plot thing, but he is a secondary character as well as maybe the antagonist. Maybe Anton's the antagonist. Who knows? This isn't Anton. I'm sorry, Anton is from a different work in progress. This is Alto Cacoethes. I knew something sounded wrong. I'm really tired today. This is Alto. Alto because he's a singer. I'm so sorry, this is going to be so confusing. I'll have all the other names right, I promise. But yeah, this is Alto. Alto Cacoethes. He has a family. Juxtaposition is Alto's cousin. They are cousins. He starts the story really, really sick. Maybe he's going to die. Maybe. This is Malvin. Malvin is Juxta's brother, younger brother, characterized by his green hair, his blue shirt, black pants and shoes. He also has a rope around him most of the time because he's a vigilante, and whether that's good or bad, you can find out by reading the book, or you can make your own conclusions. He's always got his hair in a ponytail. Yes, I did use an actual hair tie to tie his hair back. He spends most of his life looking after Juxta and worrying about Juxta. Most of the time when you see him in the story, he is with Juxta, or worrying about Juxta, or talking about Juxta. So, yeah. Next up, you've got Jared. Jared is a healer. His job is he heals people who cannot go to the hospital because they are under the radar. Characterized by his green hair, his shirt, pants, and shoes. Jared is Juxta and Malvin's cousin, and Alto's cousin as well. So, yeah. Jared's brother is Chase. Chase is a doctor. He actually has a degree. Jared learned how to heal people from watching and talking to Chase. But Jared never got his degree. So Jared works out of license as a doctor, healer. Uses herbal remedies and stuff. Chase is a doctor. He is not the greatest doctor, I will say. You'll find out how I mean by that in the book. He has a past characterized by his blonde hair, his glasses, grey scrubs, and white doctor's jacket. He also sometimes has a clipboard or a flask in his jacket, but I didn't make those. So this implies that Jared's hair is naturally blonde, and I'm not going to tell you if it is, because all through the book his hair is green. Chase has a history with Juxta and Malvin's parents, and you will find that out throughout the book. The final character, if you've been counting, this should be number 6. The final character is Henrik. Yes, Henrik. He is kind of like a YouTuber, but for most of the story he isn't actually filming videos because stuff happens. Characterized by his grey and blue hat, blue shirt, blue jeans, and black shoes. He has brown hair as well. He is the cousin to the other characters. So he and Alto are also cousins. They are not siblings. It would be funny if I'd had them be siblings, but they're not siblings. Henrik has some issues. You'll find that out in his backstory chapter. So I made all these miniatures so that people would have a better idea of what they look like. And I hope that helped. And you now can see what they look like as I go through the basic plot of the story. So after going through all the backstories that kind of happen as like a prologue, a very long prologue, takes place over a number of chapters, you get to see, after Juxta makes a deal with death, he then has this sort of curse type thing where he has to take one of his family members into a void and torture them for a month straight. This happens once every year. And that may not be good. You may not like it. But that is what happens. And while it does sound horrible, that is essentially the entire premise of the story. As he torments these characters, you watch as they get more and more depressed and fall into a darker hole. And the rest of the story is about how they cope and the secrets you uncover from watching Juxta go through this. Later on in the story, Death will change her deal. And that's when things get worse. Trigger warnings I should put in for this so that you know beforehand, because I will probably make an announcement when the book comes out. But we've got themes of suicide, self-harm, alcoholism. We mentioned blood and gore. There is medical negligence. There's a lot, and I can't remember them all. I'll make a list at the start of the book, don't worry. But there's a lot of triggers and a lot of problems, and that's why it's dark and onerous. I've been working on this since 2018. I kind of stopped it about 2019, 2020, and then went back to it when I decided I wanted to publish it. I've worked on it a lot. I've changed my timeline for it because the in-book timeline was supposed to span over 20 years when it was originally going to be posted in chapters on Tumblr, and then I decided it's going to get repetitive if I just make it a novel and keep bringing them back in. So I changed the timeline, and yeah, so things happen a lot more quickly and it's a lot more scarier. I really love this. These characters I've created are probably some of my favorite characters I've created. They just, to me, they've got so much pain. It's like, I really shouldn't put them through this much pain, but also I should, because it's fun, and I still kind of use it as a vent story to kind of get all this stuff out of my head. It's probably not good. But I really do like these characters. I love this story. I will put a link to the entire master list of the chapters that I've got on Tumblr for you to read. If you have any questions about the characters, please put them in the comments. I love to talk about these guys. I love these characters. They are adorable and sweet and very, very troubled and traumatized, and probably shouldn't have gone through all the pain that they went through, but that's life, is it not? I decided when making this that I wanted to write things that were at least a little real, because not everything has a happy ending. And so I resigned myself to the knowledge that Onerous Cimmerian is not going to have a happy ending. It's going to have a very sad, bittersweet ending. But that's okay. I wrote a couple of final chapters, but they'll need some heavy editing and also, filler to go between the two. But yeah, I have written the endings, and one of them made me cry, and then I realized copyright exists, and so I might have to change something in there. Because turns out the song You Are My Sunshine will actually not be in public domain until like the 2030s, and I'm pretty sure this novel is going to be finished before then. I'm not waiting until the 2030s so I can publish it. I'm also not going to go through the trouble of trying to get rights, so I'll just have to mention it and then hope it has the same impact. But yeah, that's basically it. I hope you enjoyed this video. Maybe next month I'll do another one on a different work in progress or something. If you enjoyed this video, that is. If you enjoyed it, please leave a thumbs up, hit subscribe, ring the bell so you get notifications when I post a new video. Not sure what the video for next week is going to be. Maybe I could do like an analysis of something if I have enough time. I don't know. We'll see. Because I usually film these about 2 weeks in advance, so yeah. But anyway, if you would like to support my writing madness, you can do so by supporting me on Ko-fi. I will attempt to get more regular with my monthly updates for my Ko-fi members. You receive behind the scenes photos, you get to see sewing projects before they get put up on YouTube, and you can usually help me to come up with ideas for things. And yeah, so yeah, I will see you next week. Bye!